Welcome to the Chain Out Podcast with your hosts, Jeremy and Daryl.
Hey everyone, welcome to Chain Out Podcast, episode 39. Jeremy here, and with me as always is that dapper looking guy over there, Daryl, your co-host, favorite co-host.
How are you doing, Jeremy?
How's it going, buddy? I'm doing great, man. Excited for
Having
another
a little bit
episode.
of an issue, I'm not going to lie. Technical difficulties. We are going live on Instagram, but because of the orientation, it's not working.
Gotcha.
So Ian is watching right now. Sorry, Ian, I'm going to end the stream because it's not looking good. So there you go.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, I guess we learned
new.
something new. Talk about all the new things we're trying, and we'll get it figured out like we always do. So what's been going on otherwise? We had a chance to get together, I think, recently. That was over the weekend for that
yeah, absolutely.
YU
that was a
challenge.
Good, we had a good time in support of a fundraiser.
And I really, something that our friend of the show, a former co-host of the show, Gabe Piska, was organizing and part of. And I want to get into that.
Hold your
but I think
Jeremy,
before we do, why don't we talk about...
No, I'm saying don't go too far ahead. We got other things to talk about first.
I'm with you. So, yeah, it was ratings day this week, hey?
Yeah. Ratings.
And how did ratings day treat you, my friend?
I mean, you got to take the good with the bad. Can't always keep going up. Some days you're going to have those valleys. This was one of those weeks for me. Ended up going down 7 points.
Was it 7? I thought it was only 1 or 2.
From 850 down to 843. Yeah. How did it treat you, Jeremy?
Gotcha. Well, sir, it treated me fairly well. But I think what the reason was, which I'll tell you, is obviously I'm playing better. But I've been playing tournaments for over a year. And at the beginning, I was a lot worse than I am now. So I'm starting to drop bad tournaments. So I think the fact that I played some decent rounds at the Limber Open, plus dropping some tournaments, I went up 11 points, and I'm at 844. So the Chain Out gang is right back together again. We were separated a bit.
No, exactly. We with what we like to say, right? We're very well matched in our skill level. I don't really understand the ratings. You do well in a tournament, and then all of a sudden you go up 10 points. You play badly, you go down 3 points. You go up 6. Like, I don't know there's no correlation between, I'm sure there is a correlation, but for the layman, where you place in a tournament determines how many points you get and how many you go up or how you go down, things like that. So ratings are what ratings will be. I want to get as high as I can, but do I know what I have to do to get there, or just keep playing better and better and better, I guess?
Yeah, I think that's it. As long as your ratings are higher than what you're at right now, your round ratings, how do you not go up? But I did a thing here, Daryl. I did a deep dive, and I narrowed it down because I went pretty deep. I looked at every one of our guests.
Jeremy, that must have taken you for age ever. And I checked to see so many guests on the show. Right.
Oh yeah, like 50 plus at least. So I was checking them all to see how their ratings days went. And I just wanted to highlight a couple for you. One of them was Cam Zanini. So we know he was chasing to get back to 1,000, and we had our fingers crossed, and we were sending him all the Chain Out good vibes that he would get to 1,000. But he said he would probably get to 999, and the PDGA slapped him again with the 999.
Exactly.
He's the new Kristen Tatar.
The Canadian Kristen Tatar. Well, Cam, we hope you. I don't know how many tournaments he has left, but just that one extra point is all he needs.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that was one. Another one, Ryan Bonner from Local Disc Golf, who we had on the show for the Fantasy Picks episode. For which tournament was that? LTL?
Brock. That would have been the BC Open. Nope, that was Mark. Well, so it would have been Fox. Not Fox, but TCO. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. So anyways, he was on there. He had the biggest jump of all the guests on the show. He had a 48
I don't think I've ever seen a 48 point jump. I know when I first started, from the first competition to first tournament to second tournament, think I ended up jumping up 36 points, and I thought that was a lot. 48 points. Wow, good job.
Yeah, crazy. So he's at 847 now. And then the last one I wanted to mention was Rebecca Dawn. We know that she's chasing 900 and hoping to get that by the end of the year. She went up 6 points and she's at 895. So she's 5 points away from her goal.
Oh, everybody seems to be going up in good directions and getting close to their goals for the year. So a few more tournaments to go in the year. Hopefully they get to their goals. Excuse me. But then what if they don't get to their goal, Jeremy?
That's right. Well, then they just keep going, or they adjust the goal as required, and they practice more, play harder, all those good things. All right.
Absolutely.
And can I talk about ratings for one more second? All right. My podcast. Our podcast, brother. So we got the Canadian MPOs. Mm-hmm. So all of the MPOs in Canada, who do you think is on top of the ratings board as of ratings day this week?
I would say either Thomas Gilbert or Max Regitnik.
And those would be good guesses because those guys are competing on the week in, week out, traveling, playing but against the big guns and stuff. No, it's actually somebody who falls into our age category, friend of the show, Marty Hendel. He has a rating of 1014. Yeah. And then what's really crazy is after that, you got 3 Canadian MPOs tied at 1013 for second. You've got Tommy G, Thomas Gilbert, Max Regitnik, and then Casey Hannemeyer. So
just because it seems to be a running theme in our podcast of pronouncing names wrong. It's actually Max Regitnik.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's half Swedish.
Oh, so it's a hard G.
Yeah.
Regitnik.
There you go. I haven't got him on.
There you go. Thanks for the lesson.
I haven't got him on.
Fritjof would be proud.
I haven't recorded him saying, Jeremy, you're saying my name wrong or anything like that, but we'll get him on one day to clarify. But Max Regitnik and Fritjof Fagagrian.
There you go. And then I'll finish it off with the Canadian FPOs. Who do you think's on top
I think this is going to be another person's name that we struggled with in the beginning. I'm going to guess it's Sophia Donica.
It is. She's sitting with a 947. Chantel Badinsky, 942. Colleen McInnes, friend of the show, 928. Gabby Lee, friend of the show, 915. And we'll have to get the last person to be a friend of the show at some point, Sandy Hendel, with a 914. All right. That's all my ratings talk. I hope everyone else's ratings day went good. Let us know
how
in the
did
comments.
Your ratings go? Everybody happy? Yeah. So what have we got coming up on this episode, Jeremy?
So
Well,
we got a lot of cool things. Why don't we
hit mentioned it earlier.
Listeners with it?
We had the privilege of playing in an event this weekend, a fundraiser for Gabe, his Youth Unlimited tournament. So we'll recap that.
Yeah, we got the big interview with.
I think he's very.
Can I call him a local legend? Do you
worthy
think?
Of the local legend status? Yeah.
Yeah. Wally Ovalle.
We mentioned it last episode, but the Oil Sands Open, and we'll give you a Cold Garden Cup news flash as well.
And then we'll also talk about the next A tier. We haven't talked about those in a while, but the next one's coming up this weekend. So Eastern
people
Canadian
who've been
Amateur Nationals.
Watching our fantasy episodes, they'll be happy to know that we're back with those again. As always, keep listening. We'll be asking the chat for a secret word, and if anyone has any questions for us.
And then wrapping it up with Canadians on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So Youth Unlimited tournament was out in Stony Plain over the weekend on Saturday. You and I actually registered pretty last minute, really, when it came down to it. We were trying to make sure to fit it into our schedule,
and
both
of us.
You ended up
getting in there before me. I had a cancellation, so I ended up getting out there as well. And I'm glad I did. It was a nice, pleasant surprise of a course.
Me too.
I mean, we've heard I don't want to say rumors, but we've heard a lot of like murmurs, I guess, of people saying that the course isn't great. It's not ready. It shouldn't be a course yet. And obviously, when we got out there, we spoke to Gabe about it, and he said, "What do you expect? The course is less than a month old." Like, I don't know what these people were expecting, but
yes,
it's a totally different course than anything that we have locally to play obviously we can go outside of Edmonton to some more beat-in courses and more longer, more professional, I guess, for one of a better word, courses. But for a amateur level, easy to play course, I was very impressed.
Yeah, I felt the same way. And I think Mike and Gabe and everybody out there who's been putting in the work has done a fantastic job, because we do, as you said, we have wooded courses, and I would call this a wooded course. But this was probably one of the shorter wooded courses, but it was a good balance of getting you to practice some shots, and you got punished if you couldn't make those shots.
Yeah, I'd spoken to Gabe at league the week, the Thursday before we went out, and he had mentioned that I think there was like maybe one or two holes over 300 feet. But when you get there, like the lines are so tight. It's a wooded technical course for sure. It's short, but it's technical. You're not pulling out your destroyers. You're not pulling out your your big drivers for sure. It's all a lot of mid-range, a lot of putter shots. As I mentioned to Gabe, it's a lot of forehand. If you're a right-hand backhand thrower, learn to throw turnover backhands, or get used to throwing, practicing on your forehand. A lot of left to right fade shots.
Yeah. Well, and we got lucky enough too. I agree with you on all those points. And I think before I say what I was going to say, I would say I think that's got to be on our list to play a few more times here before Falcon's Flight, because I think it'll get us ready for that tighter wooded type golf that Aspen Meadows
the other thing
has
as well, it's a very good big, even though it is technical, and if you do go off the fairway, you're going to be punished heavily. I mean, that was one of the complaints that people had put out there, that they couldn't find their disc off the fairway. Well, welcome to the wooded golf course experience. But there was no elevation change. It's pretty much all flat. There's no water. Well, no, there is a couple water holes that you have to throw over. But for any beginners that are
nothing that would get you into
it's not
too
like you're
much
throwing a
trouble
300
with
foot
the water,
over the water. No, it's a short, and there is a bailout zone on the right hand side anyway. But for beginner golfers, I had a few people come up to me that were walking by and saw us all hanging around and wondered what we were doing. And I explained to them that it was a charity event, and there's a new disc golf course built in here. And so for anyone who would be lucky enough to get a couple discs from the Pretzel Shack, because they sell the discs there, if you want to pick up some discs as well while you're out there.
Yes.
It's an easy course for beginners to play, is what I'm saying. Even though it's a hard technical course, there's no elevation, they're shorter holes. So I think it's a good balance between learning to play in a park style course, and once you master, you kind of your throws, kind of get things going straight, then you're opening up you're leveling up again once you go into that tight wooded course.
Yeah. And then they do have, we played the white tee position. They have a red tee position, which would also be great for the beginners as well. But more about the event. So Gabe organized this one for Youth Unlimited as a fundraiser. There was over 30 people who attended. They had a great barbecue, lots of good raffle prizes. And one of the things I noticed about this tournament that we see a little bit at other tournaments, but there was a ton of fun little games that we played in
games that I've never rounds. I mean, you have your normal putting contest and things like that, but
Ring of Fire,
some of the I'll talk about one of them. Maybe you want to pick up on the other one, or I guess there was a couple, but Gabe went off into the bushes, deep into the undergrowth, planted a flag down in the bush, and had a practice basket set up, and it was closest to the pin from inside the wooded, inside your wooded lie. So you couldn't see the basket. You had to flex a forehand, or hyzer a backhand, or whatever you could do to get over the bushes in front of you, and then it was closest to the pin. Top 3 people each got a disc at the end of the prize draw.
Yeah, you and I didn't even make it out of the bushes, I'll have to say, but a lot of people did, and one person even chained out. I tried to film it, and I did get it on film, but I was leading it too much, so it's not really worth sharing. But it was green bird that almost got it in. Yeah, and then also other games. There was a hula hoop that we were throwing through and backing up from further distances, and then for accuracy. And then the other one for touch putting was they took the top off of a practice basket. So all you had was the center pole and the basket at the bottom, and you had to putt into there and then increase
amazing
distances
how
as well.
much you rely on those chains.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, two other things I wanted to mention about it. You and I got a chance to play with Gavin and with Gabe at the beginning, and they showed us how to play the course. Gabe obviously has done a lot of work out there with Mike, his dad. Gavin has been out there as well. He said to me that he was showing, as we were walking around, he was showing me the areas that he had cleaned out and cut away and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was good for us to learn the course, playing it blind with two people that kind of designed and shaped the course. Yes. Right. And then on top of that, then like any tournament, round 2 is determined by your starting score. And Gabe and Gavin were nowhere to be seen near us.
They kind of dropped us from their coattails.
And as much as it was a fun tournament, we should give Tristan Piska a shout out because he did have the best score over the 2 rounds. And we did actually get to meet all the Piskas. The whole family was there, and that was really cool as well. And so thanks to all of them for putting it on, all the people at Youth Unlimited. If they do that type of tournament again next year, I'd be happy. I'd love to be out.
One thing I wanted to mention there, I know it's not really the name of the tournament, but we obviously have the reason why Moose Pretzel is called the Moose Pretzel is because Eden has a course on his own property called the Moose Pretzel.
Badajoz, yeah.
We know you love a good name. What's the name of the course, Jeremy, out in Stony Plain?
Well, Stony Plain, it's in Rotary Park. You would think it was Stony Plain Rotary Park Disc Golf Course. But no.
Yeah.
There is a creek that runs through there, and it's called Dog Rump Creek.
Because something else just didn't sound so good. Yeah.
That's right.
All for, like we said before, all for fundraising, all for Youth Unlimited. So a lot of money raised and all for a good cause.
Definitely.
I think we should,
Well,
Jeremy.
Daryl, shall we get to our guest?
Here for.
This week's guest is an MA50 player, MP50 player, plays in lots of divisions. He's from Edmonton, Alberta, a PDGA member since 2005, and has been playing even longer than that. He's been a major part of disc golf growth in Edmonton over the past 20 plus years. He's a past president of EDGA and a proud member of the Wolf Pack disc golf team. As a tournament director, he has created tours and hosted many events. This weekend will be his 100th tournament, Wally's 100. Let's welcome Wally Ovalle to the show.
Hey, Wally, how are you doing?
Hi, guys.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you. We've been, since we started the podcast back in
November of
2023. What was it, November, Daryl? We've had you on the list, Wally. I remember you and I talking at Putting League and saying, when are we going to get you on? And then it just made sense that this week here, a big week for you, we should have you on the show. So we're so glad you could join us.
Awesome. I truly appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I was going to say, Wally, for a guy who's got a big tournament happening this weekend, you look pretty relaxed there.
Well, after 100 tournaments, you learn to, become relaxed.
If everything's not in place by now, then
100%. I mean, I started this planning probably 7 months ago. So yeah. So I'm a planner. So I like planning things way ahead and, less to worry about when it comes close to the event. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still a lot of things to do, but
of course,
they kind of come together,
Well, we're going to really dig into Wally's 100 as we get a little more into the interview. But I know you've seen a few episodes here and there.
I certainly have.
One of the first things we like to do with our guests, right, is we want to find out how you got into disc golf, but we're not doing it the easy way, Wally. You get to think about it, and I've created what I hope is a perfect tie-in to how you got into disc golf. So if you're ready, I got your origin story all written up.
Okay.
All right. Maybe in the early 2000s, you were looking for a new and obscure sport to play when you heard about disc golf. You quickly fell in love with the sport because it immediately felt like family. You wanted to do this new family proud and became the president of the association. Not quite a god, but definitely a fatherly figure. You took on this role for many years until Tim Plamondon came along and you made him an offer he couldn't refuse. It was almost criminal how many tournaments and disc golf tours you organized and directed over the years. You thought of getting out after this weekend, but just when you thought you were out, they'd pull you back in. So instead, you're going to embrace it and howl with the wolves. Maybe that's how you got into disc golf, or maybe not. Why don't you tell us how it actually happened?
Well, I mean, some of it was close. It's definitely a family aspect to it. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, for me, it was we were literally walking with a couple of friends by Rundle Park. We seen these baskets. We thought they were bird feeders. So, we thought, hey, what the heck is up with those, right? Then we bumped into, I'm pretty sure it was Chad and this fellow Maurice that we ran into. And, they kind of explained to us. So we're like, oh, okay, this is cool. Let's try it out. So we ended up finding some weird looking discs at Toys R Us. Okay. And so we bought them and we're like, okay, let's go try it out, right? And I think this was 2001, the first time I tried it, probably late in the fall. And, we kind of enjoyed it. And then I decided to travel to Guatemala for like 6 months, and then I came back in 2002. And then we're like, hey, you know what? Let's go try this disc golf sport. I mean, we still called it frisbee golf or whatever at that time,
Right.
just like everybody else does. Yeah, and then we started getting into it, and then I bumped into Chad and a few more fellows. I believe it was Rick Lychuk, Rob Lychuk, and they just kind of showed me the way, and what discs to throw, and I'm like, well, where do I get discs? And it just so happens there was a fellow that was selling discs out of the trunk of his car, and I'm like, perfect, So I got my first disc. I think it was a Dragon. I think it was the first disc that I actually bought. And then a T-Bird. And yeah, and then I was immediately hooked. And, I was playing, I mean, not too often, but, I was playing once a week at least. And then they told me about the River City Cup, and this was in 2002. So I'm like, hey, a tournament, this is exciting, competition, whatnot. So I joined the tournament, but unfortunately I had a wedding that I had to bartend. So I ended up missing the entire first round. So they gave me par +4, right? So it was like, oh my God, okay, how am I going to I ended up finishing 2 strokes behind first place. Yeah, and I got second place. And I'm like, hey, this is cool. Maybe I have a chance. So then I was immediately hooked, right? And of course, there was raffles back then. And I had won like the 3 biggest prizes that they had, which was a guitar, a vacuum, So I was like, oh my God, like I'm winning this, second place in a tournament. I got a trophy. I still have my trophy, my first trophy. And so I'm like, okay, when is the next tournament? So they're like, oh, Calgary. And this was actually Lloyd Park, 2002. It wasn't really a disc golf course back then. It was just like a setup one. And I won first place by like 28 strokes or something like that. Wow. So they're like, oh, you should move up. And I'm like, okay, I'll move up. Well, there was no intermediate or anything, divisions like that. Right. It was novice and advanced. So I went from novice, from winning by 28 strokes, to being advanced and pretty much being last place for the next 2 years. So it was quite the fun experience. But honestly, what got me into the sport was the people. Like, just going to those first 2 tournaments, everybody was so welcoming, so amazing, so friendly. Like, it felt like a family, like right off the bat. And I was hooked. Like, the sport is great, and I mean, it's the only sport that I haven't quit in 23 years. And it was just like I said. It felt.
You mentioned
like
there about meeting up with Chad. We spoke to him a few episodes ago there, and he mentioned that right in the very beginning there was a course. The name of the park is eluding me. Horlac. There was a tonal park course down there. Did you ever get a chance to go down and play that? Oh, okay.
I did not know. I was strictly Rundle until I got more into it, and then people started telling me about these different parks with, trees as objects, and so the more I became friends with these folks, and I mean, like 23 years later, I'm still friends with all of these people, so that tells you what what the sport
Yeah.
does for folks. So
Yeah.
and so I mean I think I was a year later I started running the doubles league,
Okay.
because I wanted to become more involved, and then a year later I think I ran my first tournament, which was an ace race
Yeah.
or an
Gotcha.
ice bowl. It might have been an ice bowl. Yeah, I can't remember, to be quite honest, but I know it was one or the other. It was so many years ago.
Well, Wally,
Um,
kind of with
yeah.
that too, is in those early days, we had noticed when you look at the PDGA history and such, you were playing one tournament a year, maybe two or three, like that were actual PDGA registered tournaments.
Oh gosh,
Is
I mean,
is that because there
like,
really wasn't many around at that point, or what was it
well,
like back
there
then?
wasn't many around. I mean, like the first PDGA tournament that we had here in Edmonton was the Canadian Disc Golf Championships, which was run by Steve Mallet, and that was
Right.
in 2001. So that was like when I only played like one and a half
Right.
rounds, right? So I didn't even
Yes.
know about it. But yeah, so he ran the first PDGA tournament in Edmonton, and well, the only Canadian Disc Golf Championship in Alberta, to
Okay.
date, right?
Yeah.
So that was impressive, So and I got to work with him later on in the years with redesigning Rundle Park, and because we used to have like kind of 15 holes, and started out with nine
Yeah.
holes back in like 1980. I think it was this. It had this saucer baskets, and it was a company from
Oh.
Minnesota, I think, that sold those baskets.
And I
Yeah.
think
So then,
I've seen
yeah,
those ones. I think they almost look like a
it's a
large
cone.
top, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a cone. Yeah, and they were almost impossible to putt into. We actually had one by the old school hole one at Rundle, and then one day I was driving by, and I guess somebody stalled it. So
Oh no.
yeah, I
Probably a
know, I
piece of
know.
history that they wanted to keep.
Oh, well, I guess, yeah, but that was definitely a piece of history, because it would have been nice
Yeah.
to, show people when you're walking by. It's like, hey, that's what the baskets used to look
Yeah.
like back in 1980, So,
So did you
so it,
find you putted a lot different because of those baskets? Were you more of a touch putter in those days?
well, I didn't actually get to play on those baskets. We would
Oh, okay,
practice on that
okay, okay.
basket for fun, but
Gotcha.
yeah, you have to be like perfect, like
Yeah.
dead center, center. So, yeah, yeah. No, by that time, Steve Mao had already, you know, uh, modify the baskets that we had in there and added chains to them, and modify the actual basket, catching basket, so that the disc wouldn't go through it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so Steve did a whole bunch of stuff
Hmm.
for our city and for Alberta. Like he worked together with CBJ to build a lot of courses throughout the province. So he definitely did a lot. So for me, it was a pleasure to work with him and redesign Rondo Park to what it looks like now. And it took like a year and change, year and a half working with the city, to make it happen. But once we made it
Yeah.
happen, it was
People
it was
complain
pretty
about
cool. So
putting into Prodigy
you
baskets
know,
now. They don't know how lucky they've got themselves, right? How far the sport
well,
has
that's
come.
just it. Exactly. Like, I mean, but I'm one of those I complain over Prodigy baskets. Like, I hit top right and it's like spits me out every time. So,
Yeah. Well,
but
you
yeah,
met.
going back. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned it there, some of the people that we actually know. So, Chad Gamlin, he's been around since those early days.
Yeah.
Robbie and Rick Lychuk and Tim Sherman and that. And I know you and Robbie got to be quite good friends. And I'm trying to remember because I didn't get to hear the whole story. So I thought, what a better time than now to hear it. But was it 2019 or 2021 when the two of you got together and said, we're going to go hard and play as many tournaments as we can? Do you
Yeah, well,
remember that?
actually, we started kind of going to tournaments together in 2017, I think.
Okay.
Like he just got back into disc golf again after, being
Wow.
gone for like 8, 10 years close to. And then yeah, in 2019, we just decided let's see how many PDGA tournaments we can play, and we ended up playing
Wow.
18 PDGA tournaments in one year. Yeah,
Wow.
which was insane. I mean, like we put on over, I think it was almost 11,000 kilometers, and we walked like over 1 million steps, and it was insane
Right.
because I just kept track of everything that year. So,
Okay.
but yeah, it was pretty much a tournament every single weekend the entire summer. So,
And then how far did that take you from in the country? Because that almost sounds like you were essentially being a pro player doing
Believe
the
it or
tour.
not, actually, it was
Wow.
mostly in Alberta. That year, it had exploded from people wanting to run PDGA tournaments in the province, and the Alberta tour was huge, So I think we only played one tournament in Saskatchewan, maybe one in BC. I can't remember, but yeah, 18 PDGA tournaments. It was insane.
Awesome. Was there any good stories about
Anything
being
you
on the
can
road,
tell
or
us?
anything that's safe for the podcast that you can tell
Well,
us?
I mean, Robbie learned how I drive, and I drive with purpose. Let's just say that. I like to get from point A to point B as quick as possible.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so it was exciting along the way.
Yeah. And did you find that your game got substantially better from playing that regularly, or was it just that you were competing in tournaments rather than practicing every week? Or
Yeah, I mean, I never been one to practice, to be quite honest. I always like, maybe I'll warm up a little, but I really don't practice ever before a tournament. The goal for us was actually to reach, improve our PDGA rating. I think at that time I started at 970 or 872, sorry. So my goal was to get to 900 that year.
okay,
And I mean, honestly, it's a lot tougher to maintain or raise your PDGA rating
Really?
when you're playing so many events, as opposed to like playing 2 or 3 a year. That you might do well, right? Even if you're
Yeah.
doing well on 2 out of the 3, you still maintain that rating. But when you're competing like every weekend, you might not
Right.
be as good every single week, right? Especially 18 weeks in a row. But I mean, we dedicated ourselves to doing it, and I ended up, I think, finishing the year at 907, I think
Yeah.
it was, which was amazing,
that's
you
awesome.
know. And it's funny that you say that, that you ask about it, because I actually had a post a few weeks ago on Facebook saying, "Oh, in 2019, you had played 46 PDGA tournaments and you had won one." And I was
Oh,
like, "What? Really, eh?" And I look at my history right now, and I believe I played 106 PDGA tournaments and I've won 16.
Yeah.
that's a
You
pretty
know,
good ratio.
right? In 4 years, I more than doubled
Yeah.
the amount of tournaments that I played, PDGA
Yeah.
tournaments, and won 15 more than I did, the
Yeah.
20 years
Wow.
prior or 19 years prior, right? So,
Yeah.
so that was a cool stat too, that came up out of
Yeah.
the history of things.
For sure. Now, you had said, Wally, that you had that touch putt for those cone shaped baskets, but I don't know if Daryl knows this. But I know I've seen when I've played with you or watched you play, is that you've got a different way of gripping the disc. And what would you call that method? Like you almost have one finger on.
Wrong.
Oh,
Wrong. That's how
So
you
wrong it
call it.
feels good.
Wrong. That's right. I mean, for me, honestly, whatever feels good on my hand, like I'm always switching it. I'll put the finger in front, I'll tuck it underneath, and if it feels good, then I kind of go with it. And you know, I tend to do the jerky putt. It's like I do this, right? So I don't
okay.
actually follow through, and so my putting is not the greatest. I think maybe one year might have been really good, but it's part of my game, I guess, and I need to work on it, right? Like if you put in the time, you're gonna see the payoff, and I
Are you
just need
telling
to
me that
start
Chad hasn't ever tried to
practicing
give you
more,
a give you
and
a lesson here and there?
oh, he has all throughout the years. I mean, trust me, I can't believe he's still trying to teach me, and it's I just can't listen apparently, but when it comes to helping somebody else figure out their game, I seem to know exactly what
Right.
they need, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, that works, right? But to give myself
Do
advice,
as I say,
forget
don't do as
about
I
it.
do.
Like it just
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly,
The
yeah,
what is it? Or is it the greatest teacher but the worst student? Something like
one
that.
hundred percent, yeah. I just can't seem to learn new tricks, so
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
but yeah,
Wally, again, too, we were looking at your PDJ history and we were going through it and seeing everything you've done. Because it's always exciting when we've had a guest on who's played for a long time. We saw that you got a couple chances to go down to Las Vegas. Was that
yes.
a good tournament? Was that the biggest tournament? Tell us about that.
It was pretty exciting. I mean, I had gone to the GBO in Kansas
Easy.
there,
Yep.
or I forget what it's called now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a great experience. I didn't get to play,
Yeah.
so I just went to volunteer,
Hmm.
but the experience was amazing. Like we got to play OP Lake, and we were behind Macbeth and Nate Dawes and all these guys that were like just playing on practicing, right? So being behind them and just watching them play, it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. They make it look so easy. And I'm like, I mean, the winds were, I think it was
Wow.
like 54
Yeah.
miles per hour.
Oh,
It was just
wow.
insane. Oh yeah, and it's not even affecting them. Whereas my disc is going into the lake and into the trees, and it was just. But the experience was amazing. But yeah, our first time going to Vegas, it was also an experience. I mean, just to see the sheer amount of people that are there, get to meet some of the pros. It was pretty amazing. And I played awful. It was just, I don't know what it was, but I just couldn't get into it. And, I didn't finish last, but, I was close to the bottom.
Yeah.
So, but the experience, amazing. Then, of course, COVID happened. Like as soon as we got back, got
Oh.
off the plane, it was like, oh my God.
Oh.
Yeah, so that changed things. So we ended up going back 2 years later. Well, then now I had a different mentality, things were looking better, better prepared, I guess, and I got to meet
Nice.
Kristen Tatar, that she was just
Oh.
amazing. Yeah, so she signed a couple of my discs. So
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of hers, just watching her play is just amazing, right? Like she's just incredible, so. And then I got to meet a few more people, and there was this fellow. I always forget his name. He's one of the commentators. Apparently, I was having breakfast with him, and we're talking, and he was like all like he had gotten super drunk the night before. He only slept like 3 hours, right? So, it was Barsby, I think. Yeah, that's right. It was Greg Barsby, right? So, my round is starting, and so he's like, "Oh, have a great round, right?" So I joined my card mates, and they're like, "Oh, Barsby," and I'm like, "I didn't even know who that was." So, but just an awesome guy, like super down to earth, and yeah,
Yeah.
so those kind of stories. So yeah, I mean, going back to the tournament. Uh, After the first 10 holes, I was actually tied for
Wow.
first place.
Whoa.
It was amazing. But for some reason, the dry weather in Vegas
Right.
dries up my hands. And literally both
Oh
times that I
wow.
went, I ended up getting blood blisters.
Oh.
So, of course, it was like hole 5, maybe 6. The blood blister popped on my main
Right.
finger, my
Mm.
throwing finger. And then my sciatic went on hole 9.
Oh no.
First time that I got in a sciatic attack. And so, well, needless to say, I went from being tied for first in the 10 holes to finishing second last.
What could have
Oh.
You
been?
know,
Yeah.
so I was
So
doing a lot of numbers. Yeah,
the
exactly.
biggest
What could have
rise
been?
and yeah,
Yeah.
biggest rise and fall all in one round,
But
right?
at least I knew I could do it, and I
Yeah.
could keep up. So that made me feel good. But yeah, so I decided never going back to Vegas because I don't want more blood
Yeah.
blisters. Like it was just
So out of all
horrendous.
those tournaments that you've played, all those different championships you've played in, do you
Hmm.
have a favorite course? Or favorite courses? I'm sure you can't just narrow it down to one.
Ah, gosh, yeah, I mean, I have many, but for me, the top courses, as far as like really technical, difficult courses,
Yeah.
would have to be Rudy's, at yeah, for
Aspen
Falcons Flight
Meadows.
and
Yeah.
Aspen Meadows. To me, those two courses it's just amazing, And then I truly enjoy the one that we use for the Gold Eagle,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Jackfish Lake, yeah. When they set up that course around the beach, it's a different, and it's got everything. It's got a little bit of everything, Like
Right.
I said, you even get to play in the sand, so it's pretty amazing. And then
Hmm.
they got the really tough course, that really challenges you in all aspects of the game. So as far as challenging, yeah, those would be. But I mean, I love the Grand Prairie courses. Like I
Yeah.
think all the 3 courses are just amazing
Yeah.
so yeah, I definitely got a whole bunch of courses, but as far as for me enjoying it while playing, I would have to say it's anything that's open, like a golf course. I seem
Yeah.
to do way better in those than
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. Yeah.
than
We've heard
anything else. So
so many good things about those courses up in Grand Prairie. We hear that they're just top notch courses, and then you're not the only person. We've had multiple
they
people,
really are.
ask their favorite course, and it's Aspen Meadows. Yeah. Yeah, we're looking forward.
Yes.
Yeah,
100%.
And we're so excited, Wally, because it's our first time to play it this year. Daryl and I
We're
were going to
going.
be down there for Falcons.
Oh, you
so-
guys are going. Oh, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And
Well, that's exciting. Have you guys played at Tabasco before?
Well, Athabasca we've played.
Okay.
Daryl played
Mhm.
Hidden Gem this year. I played it last year, so we're excited
That's
as
right.
well.
That's
We know
right.
that's a
Yeah.
good course, and probably a good prep, right? Because all those wooded holes up at
Oh,
Athabasca will get us ready.
100%. Oh, yeah. It's funny because I mean, like Lost Egg teaches you to, putt better, and then from there you start improving, and as you get towards the tougher courses, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, for sure. Well, Wally, another thing too, because I'm a bit of a history buff guy. Like I love to learn about things that have happened and that. Like we'll go to a place like Nordegg, Alberta, and I'm the
Oh,
guy who
yes.
wants to go on the coal mine tour and
Oh,
spend
cool.
2 hours learning about the coal mine days. So this isn't as far back as that for sure. But with the EDGA starting days, when we get like, was the club around when you started, or how did the
Oh,
club come
it
together?
was, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
No, that was Steve Mallett that created the club. I believe it was in 2001.
Okay.
Yeah, so he started the club in 2001. So he was the president for the first 2, 3 years, I think. Then Scott and Ned became the president. Then Rob Lychuk, I think, was the president in 2004. And then Doug White, who he was, I think he moved to Mexico now, and he was the president in 2005. And that was the same year that him and I ran the River City Cup together. That was my first River City Cup.
Gotcha.
Yeah, in 2005. And then after that, that's when I took over as president in 2006. And I was on there until, 2014 or 15, I believe. And
Wow.
then Shane Bundes took over, and yeah, it was pretty crazy, and I mean running the River City Cup too, it was I ran it for so many years, it just became like
just that thing you did every summer,
natural, I guess, so
yeah.
100%, yeah, that must. I mean, like I did so much. I mean, I think 2007, 8, I kind of started helping out with the Alberta tour as well, and I don't know if I took it over. I wanted to make sure, like I said, I'm a planner, right? So I wanted to make sure that everybody that was running a tournament the following year, we had a schedule set up. We had, the insurance all ready to go for all the events to cover everything. And, we had dates picked and who did what and how many tournaments in what cities, because we also had the Alberta Open that used to move from city to city to city, right? So I got to run that tournament couple of times as well. So yeah.
No,
So
and that's good. So that would make you probably the longest serving president from what you're saying then for the amount of time you were there?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And was that
For
really
sure.
you got in there and just everyone said, "Oh, you're doing such a great job." No one wanted to
That,
come in.
you know what? That's pretty much what it was, and I think that's why I stayed on for so long because nobody wanted to do it. So it's like, well, I guess I have to do it. Nobody wants to do it until Tim came along, and thank God. I'm like, here's the keys. Have it all. Whatever you need.
Well, I think too is I think maybe you had to get sneaky if I heard this story right, because I don't know, Daryl, if you remember when Tim was talking about it, he said, "Oh, you know what, Tim?" He heard, "Oh, you should come out to the board meeting. There's probably a position
I think he said
or
you should
something
run
like
for
that."
vice
And
Yeah.
And then like the night before or a couple of days
Yes.
before, it was, I think you should be president.
Yeah, I recall being a couple of texts or something that kind of pushed them that way, because I knew I've had enough, like I said, I've done it for so many years, and I mean, I was running tournaments left and right. I think one year I ran like 7 tournaments in one year, which was just insane, and I mean, I've run tournaments all over the place. It's like I've run a tournament at Rudy's, which was amazing to run my night owl there, because at that time we were both struggling to get players to our tournaments, believe it or not, right? Like Falcons Flight was struggling to get tournament or players, right? Exactly. So, like both of because I started my tournament, the night owl, like 3 years before his, and like I said, we always struggled to get players, I think we would get like 28, 35, 40 players, And then, I remember him and I sitting at at the bench there at where you get the cell phone reception, and just sitting and talking. And it's like, hey, how can we increase the attendance in our events? So then I decided to run the night owl the following year at his place, and it kind of worked. I think the last year that I ran it, I think I had close to 100 players, so that made me feel good. And I mean, he's cracked over 200, right? Almost 300. So that was so
How do you
amazing
go about?
to see.
I mean, we're talking about the tournaments here, but how do you go about running these tournaments in different areas? Is it that the people from that area call you and say, "Can you run a tournament here?" Or are you running the tournament?
No, I've actually been the one that reached out to them. Like for example, like when I started the Northwoods tour, my reason for that was to bring the tournament experience to all the northern communities, right? So, uh, you know, uh, speaking with folks from Hinton and Drayton Valley and Athabasca, right? So I just wanted to bring disc golf to those communities, right? And you know, I guess kind of teach them how it's done, how exciting it can be for the community, right, and the sport, right? So yeah, I mean, my mindset have always been about growing the sport and doing this and that, So I obviously took on too much at time, but it was worth it. I mean, like I said, for me, it's all every single moment that I've spent with disc golf, it's been worth it. It's yeah, it takes a lot of hard work and I mean thousands and thousands of hours, that but it's part of the fun, it's part of the experience, part of making those friendships, that have lasted decades,
Sweet.
literally, so yeah, so to me every moment has
absolutely.
been
Talking about
incredible.
taking on too much work and things like that, bringing it back to EDGA, out of all the time that you spent there and all the accomplishments that you did, is there anything that stands out that you're kind of proud that as your time as the EDGA president that you can say those are some of the things that you've achieved and that you had your hand on?
Yeah, I mean, like when we started, I mean, we were lucky to get 20 members, it was, and that was an achievement. And that was for River City Cup too. I think the first PDGA River City Cup that I ran was 2011. And I think I had 48 people or something like that. And that was a success back then, and that was just what, 2011. So 13 years ago, and now we're like over in the 200s, but honestly, in all the time that I spent, I mean, it was obviously building the community and the sport, and obviously I wish I would have done a better job, but like I said, when you're juggling so many things, you need to like figure out what to do, but you know, putting together the Northwestern course and installing it, within 6 months, that was amazing. I mean, obviously we couldn't have done it with the entire help of the members, right? The EDGA members. But I mean, the city at that time had different way of doing things, so putting that course, from beginning to end, working with the city and having it installed within 6 months, that was, to me, was amazing that it even happened, right? So, but I mean, for me, it's Hermitage, it definitely took a lot more work than I was expecting, because I was kind of like the guinea pig for the city as far as, the whole process of trying to install that course and working with the city and doing this and doing that, and it was a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie, like it was a lot of meetings, and like I said, they changed it totally, completely the way they did things, so I had to fill out, paper stacks like that, it's like 50, 100 pages long, and revise them and redo them and put this and plans for this, plans for that, but hey, at the end of the day, the course got put in, and I mean, look at it now.
Oh, it's so beautiful now.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I get because I'm the course ambassador, I guess, and I get the things from UDisc. And 2 months ago, it was like 1,100 rounds played in 1 month.
Wow.
Last month it was 984, and it's just like this is just people that are keeping track. Never mind the people who don't keep track on UDisc, right? So, like, how insane is that? 1,100 rounds in 1 month.
That's
Like,
amazing.
right?
Well, Well, and with Hermitage too, like you said, it was a long time coming. And from what I understand, it went through a number, like I even found a picture of one of the old course maps. So how many times did the course change over the years?
Oh, honestly, it was.
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's cool.
Yeah.
The original layout that I had, which is the one that you're looking at there,
Yeah.
and I can't believe you
It's
found it because
amazing.
I couldn't even find it.
Yeah,
So
if you look at like
that's awesome.
something that really jumps out at people that know Hermitage, hole 1 looks like it's the same, but then hole 2
Hole
is
one never
actually
changed. Yeah.
hole
Oh man,
18.
like
Yeah,
hole
and
two was it's now
then
18. Yeah, and I mean like the holes through the woods, like where you see 7,
yeah,
8,
at the top right.
9. Oh my God, like that was my dream course. And honestly, that layout was good to go until the final walkthrough, and
Oh,
that's when their naturalization folks or the lady joined us, and she just immediately jumped on me and said, "No, you can't have that. You can't have this." Like right off the bat, before we even
oh,
started walking, right? And I'm like, "You realize this is the final walkthrough, right?
yeah.
Like,
You had
where
a
were you in
long
the
time ago to
past
talk about it. Yeah.
200 emails that we went set back and forth, right?" So the group that I was working with as the city of Edmonton, they're like, "Yeah, no, we CC'd you," and apparently the naturalization folks had changed. Um,
Hmm.
folks, I guess, within their department.
Right.
And when she started telling me that I can have this, I can't have that, and I pretty much have to
Right.
redesign the entire layout again
Oh,
because they didn't want nothing going through the trees. And she actually lived by in the area of the hills course, and she's
okay.
like, "I'm a disc golfer," and I'm like, "No, you're not." You
Yeah.
don't understand the sport then if
If
you're
you don't
telling me
want it
I
in the
can't have
trees.
this, especially at this late stage of the game, right? So that was very frustrating. I ended up having to do
Right.
like 5 more layouts after that,
Five
until it
more.
was approved. Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, it was a labor of love, but it
Yeah.
became just a labor of
Well,
get it done, and
Yeah.
you
And
know,
done it is now. Like we've got tee
you know,
pads, we've got signs, we've got
y-
great baskets. The lawn is always mowed. The course is amazing.
yeah. I mean, that's thanks to Tim. I just wanted to get the course in the ground. That was my goal, right? Put it in so they can't take it back, and. But yeah, Tim definitely did an amazing job to get the tee pads done and the signs and everything. So that's been amazing to see, and now having it mowed too, so that they
we
get rid
should
of
give
those
Kristen a shout
stupid
out as well
things.
because I know she had a lot of hand. Yeah. Yeah.
100%, she did a lot of
One
Yeah.
work
one thing
in
I'm
making
looking at
that happen
the
for
little
sure.
map here. One
So
thing I'm noticing, I don't know what iteration, like how many before designs you had before this one, but did you always have red and blue tees even from the beginning? Was it always a two tee? Yeah,
100%, that was always the goal for me to have different
right.
tee pads
That's
and
awesome.
different basket
And then
locations.
hole 14, which
Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
is now the iconic. How does it feel to have a hole named after yourself? But it was always a triple mando at that.
It it it, it was that was I wanted to call it the
Yeah,
Tim
we
Hortons
heard.
hole, the triple double. So
Yeah.
but I mean, Wally's way is, I was definitely touched by, when Tim and Kristen asked me about that, and I was like, wow, yeah, like that, that's very cool,
That's it,
and I'm
right?
very
If we
appreciative of
forever
that.
immortalized
So
on the sign.
yeah.
It's not just a local. Yeah, it's not just a
Oh,
local hearsay. It's
100%,
there on
yeah.
the sign. Yeah,
You
that's
know,
awesome.
exactly.
Well, and Wally, I love almost everything about you, I think. And then, except I will play the front nine of Hermitage, and my round is going well. I'm like, right around par or just under. And then I'll hit hole 10, which is now named Wally's Way, as we said. And I'm cursing your name because I'm missing Mandos left, right, and center. And now I'm like +3 by the
You,
time
you
I
just
roll
have to
through the rest
throw
of
a
the round.
stable putter hard. That's it.
Stable. Okay. Okay.
That's it. Just throw it hard down the pipe. It'll stand up, go flat, and go all the way to the basket. That's
I'm
it.
going to try it next time. And then
Yeah.
maybe at that point, I'll start praising you, not just for
Hey.
everything you've done, but even for Wally's Way. Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, one of the things we just got an email about is that the annual general meeting for EDGA is going to be coming up, and they're going to be
Hmm.
looking for new members of the board. So, one of the things being that you served on the board for so long, we've probably got some listeners who might be considering putting their names up for those positions. What would be some advice for you to to those people who are thinking about it before they get
Well,
into it?
honestly, be willing to commit to the role, like that. Be willing to just give yourself to the sport, essentially, and you're not gonna get many things, even though you do, but don't do it for that.
Mm-hmm.
Do it for the love of the game and to grow the sport and to meet new people and to gain new skills. Like I'm telling you, the amount of skills I have gained from running events, like I could literally be a wedding planner. Like that's. I'm telling you, like that's how many hours it takes. It'd probably be easier to prepare a wedding than it would to do like a big major tournament.
You're,
So
you're, you're supposed to be
yeah, yeah.
encouraging
So
people,
it's
Wally.
definitely, yeah. Just be willing to put in the time. Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's easier
Like,
to run a wedding than it is
You're
to do a
gonna learn a
tournament.
lot.
You're honest.
Hey, well, I mean, I guess I'm looking at a small wedding, maybe destination wedding in Mexico. Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go. Let somebody else do the work. Yeah.
Well, I guess
Yeah.
too, as you're talking about that, so going from the board maybe into the tournament directing, and we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier again, but let's just reiterate. So the very first tournament you did, that was the River City one that you
That
were,
was well, the
yeah.
very first one, like as far as an event, it was an ace race or the ice
Oh,
bowl.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, and
Okay.
then I pretty much ran the ice bowls for the next 12, 14 years, as well as ace races, and River City Cup was like
Wow.
18 years, I think. So,
Yeah.
so yeah,
And River City Cup, it got quite big at one point. Was it an A tier at
it
one
was.
time?
I mean, I had some issues with it, but that was kind of one of my goals in my disc golf life was to run an A-tier tournament, and but unfortunately we couldn't get the tee pads at Hermitage, due to all the delays, and so like I said, there was a lot of things that just kind of didn't work in my favor, I guess, But yeah, I mean, I can say I ran an 8-tier event, and I mean, at the end of the day, everything was successful, not as great as it could have been. I think we had rain and smoke, and so a lot of things, you can't plan for. But you just got to be willing to roll and have a backup plan and a backup plan for your backup plan. So
Yeah,
yeah, like I said, preparation is what makes running a tournament so much easier.
right.
And that's why I like doing all of this stuff way ahead of time, right? So it's literally just, oh, that's done, that's done. I just got to do this, and this, and just have a list, and that's kind of what I've been teaching all the folks that are excuse me, running their own tournaments, like in Hinton and Drayton Valley,
Yeah.
in Athabasca. Just don't be afraid to step in and do it. It's if you don't do it right, doesn't matter. Nobody's gonna know. It's
Yeah.
you're doing it, and that's what's important. It's keeping the sport alive. And like for me, I love the tournament experience. Like I love showing up early, even if I don't play until 2 p.m. I'm
Mm.
there at 8 a.m. and it's like, hey, what can I do? And let's do this and let's watch some
Yeah.
people, let's do some drives. And I love the whole experience, like for me, obviously that's my vacation, like everybody at work was bugging me today. It's like, you're taking Thursday, Friday off again? Like, and I'm like, that's my vacation, like you
Yeah.
guys go to, Mexico, go to Jasper, whatever, right? Like, this is my thing,
Yeah.
that's where I get to live, so yeah.
Well, and you kind of got to it there for us, Wally, is that normally when we have a guest on with as much experience as you, will do a professional mindset and we'll ask them about something that can help us amateurs. But with all of your experience on the tournament directing side, and I got to put this stat out there before I ask the
Hmm.
question. After this weekend, 100 events in 21 years, that's almost 5 events a year or just over. It's crazy.
It is
So
crazy.
so with all that wealth of knowledge, for anybody who's, we said a board member, but for anybody who's looking to get into tournament directing, give us some of your wealth of experience. What are some tips for that person running that first tournament?
Well, definitely planning. Like I said, planning,
Planning, yeah.
planning, planning. Yeah, planning, planning, planning. Like have everything planned out, put it on a sheet of paper. Once you have it and see what you need to do, it's easy to just check off, check
Yeah.
off, check off. Just check off the list. Like it makes life so much easier. And it's obviously hard to plan for a tournament. Like, don't start big. It would be my first suggestion if you're
Okay.
running a first tournament. Keep it simple, right? Keep it simple. As far as prizes, make it simple. Once you start getting into like the bigger tournaments, where you're dealing with shirts, discs,
Yeah.
player packs, payouts, planning it's good, and that's why I've always liked doing early registration, because if I can get an
Mhm.
idea of the number of players I'm going to have, then it's easy for me to plan ahead in ordering shirts, ordering discs, whatever I'm,
Right.
giving out for player packs, right? So it's keeping it simple. It's gonna make it way
Mhm.
easier and way more fun, But yeah, I would say definitely planning is the most important part. And like for me too, doing payouts, I've always been one to, for the pros anyways, give you an envelope full of cash as opposed to
Oh,
doing
okay.
e-transfer. Because I did e-transfer for a River City Cup once, and oh my God, my e-transfer list for my bank, it was like 100 and some odd, people. And I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So I literally spent half a day adding people and then sending out money, so I'm like, never again, you
Right.
know. But
Yeah.
sometimes people have to leave early, and it's easy if you have an envelope full of cash and,
Yeah.
oh, you finished sixth place. Here you go. Have fun.
Gotcha. Now,
So
would you say too, Wally? Is there something to be said about not trying to do it all on your own, like to kind of get a team
one
around
one
you?
hundred percent. If you have a team, it makes a lot easier. I mean, I like to say that I've as far as planning, yeah, I've done it myself mostly because I feel more comfortable doing it myself. I know the tasks that I need to complete. But when it comes down to it, I mean, setting up the course, you know, getting stuff ready, getting the play. Like I couldn't have done it without the help of all these amazing people in the last 21 years. Like
Hmm.
Chad is always the Greg is always there, to help me set up the course. I mean, it's just so many people
Yeah.
that are willing to step up and help uh, you know, f- for it to be an amazing event, right? So I definitely could not done any of the events without all my amazing friends and people willing to step up, and EDGA members. And like I said, it's a community, and if
Hmm.
we help one another,
Yeah.
it makes life so much easier. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, did you were saying there was a little bit there with the River City Cup one when the weather doesn't cooperate and those things. So
Hmm.
you can have as the best laid plans and then still have some of those things get in the way. Is there anything
100.
you remember that was like the biggest, oh my gosh, how could this possibly have happened that maybe nobody else saw, but that you experienced on the TD side of it?
Um, Nothing major, to be quite honest.
All that planning, right?
That's just it, exactly. All that planning, if you're covering your bases for the what ifs, then you can always rely on plan B. So that's why it's just good to have those second options, right? So
Yeah.
and I mean, I've had it happen. I think it was 2 years ago, or maybe even last year, when I had to move the Night Owl from Drayton Valley to
Right.
Edmonton because of the smoke and the fires, right?
Yep.
So that was huge, but like I said, people stepped up to help me, and we made the change. And it wasn't as good as it could have been, but it was still
Yeah.
amazing. So
Yeah.
you know, yeah. So, and like I said, that's the second planning, right? Like I knew the smoke and the fires were gonna be an issue, so I plan ahead accordingly, right? And make sure I spoke with Tim and the city to make sure that we could still
Yeah.
use Rundle Park in case of, so.
Right.
So, and we had to do it. And like I said, all the pieces were in place. So push the dominoes and off you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at the PDGA list of tournaments and you look in Alberta, you look in BC, you look across Canada, we've gone from probably struggling to have a tournament or having to travel far to get into one to having so many tournaments available to us. Do you think we are now getting to a point where we're getting too many tournaments for the amount of players we have? Should we
Ho-
be?
Honestly, I would say yes. It's starting to become, I don't know if I would say a problem, but it's definitely a lot more events than, you know, but then again,
Hmm.
the community has also grown, there was
Mhm.
the COVID effect, right? Where people were looking for things to do, and they found disc golf, and that's why disc golf blew up in the last 3 years. But now you're starting to see that number dwindle down. So we still have a large amount of events, but not as many people interested in playing the sport. So that's why you see the numbers, dropping, as opposed to before. It was like, I mean, when you got an event like Falcon's Flight that still fills up in 3 minutes, 260 players, right? But, that just goes to tell you about the event itself, right? So people want to be part of it, and honestly, the biggest reason why we have so many PDGA events in Alberta was because of Rudy Faulkner. He was a big advocate of us running PDGA tournaments for the Alberta Tour, and that's why I started running in 2011. I ran the first River City Cup as a PDGA, and I think I missed 2012, and then I haven't stopped since 2013. So, but that was because of Rudy Faulkner. He wanted us all to run PDGA events and support the PDGA, because they in turn support us. They support the event in one way or another, But
one thing I wanted to ask you, we had Carrie Neal on, and we was asking her about when she TDs her tournaments and things like that, and how she feels a tournament or what makes a tournament go well. And then she said that if people are talking about the tournament and not the TD, then it's a good tournament because she's kind of done her job and she's not center. If you're doing it and you're trying to, you're looking for the praise and you're looking for the pat on the back, then you're doing it for the wrong reason. What do you think makes a great tournament?
Yeah. That exact same thing. I would agree with Carrie 1000%. Yeah. Yeah. It's all about the event. It's never about, anything else. It's about the event and the experience the players had, If they had a great time, then they're going out of there with a smile. And I mean, don't get me wrong, not everybody has the same experience, but for the most part, people do enjoy the event. And if I see smiles as they're leaving, great.
I know we've got a lot of extracurricular activities looking forward to this weekend. What do you think? Like, do you put a lot of emphasis on when you run an event, having those extra things as well so that people can play the event and then have things to do?
I mean, not always. I mean, I'd like to have something for, especially when we're doing one round per day. I like people to have fun. And Mike Carey came up with this great idea of setting up like a small course part 2, and then I started thinking, that's a great idea. So I literally phoned and texted everybody that could bring a basket to bring a basket so that I can set up this 9-hole mini course. And then I thought, hey, you know what? My first event was, at least I think it was an ace race. So why not have a mini ace race too for people to have something to do after the round, right? So they get to play around and they do an ace race. Then on Saturday, we'll do a part 2 golf, and see who can get the best score and, add all the games. Just for me, the idea for this final tournament, I guess, was for everybody to just have an amazing time, from beginning to end, and that was the goal, Yeah, it's a B tier PDGA tournament, but I want people to have fun, and that's I want to go out in a bang with fun, I guess, and that's kind of why I wanted to have all these amazing events where everybody can take part in, and if you don't want to, well, that's good too. There's an event for everybody, Yeah.
Well, and I think that's a great lead into Wally's 100. So why don't we talk more about that? First of all, anybody who's listening here who, I don't know how anybody doesn't know you, Wally, but again, this guy sitting in front of us, talking with us tonight, has organized 100 tournaments. And that's what we're going to be doing this weekend, starting Thursday night and going right through to Sunday. This is going to be amazing. I'm so excited. We saw your email. What we should probably do is tell some people who are listening who maybe weren't coming to the event, but just all of the things that are happening this whole weekend, starting with doubles on Thursday, I think.
Yeah, so here, let me bring up the list because I pretty much can't remember.
He's got it planned.
No, I was actually updating things for the tournament here, so before I jumped in. So we got random doubles on Thursday. and there's $100 in payouts, so it's free to anybody that wants to come and play that is part of the tournament. Then obviously we got our first round from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. And then
Rolling starts though too, right?
rolling
This isn't
starts.
a
Yeah,
shotgun.
every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
No, everybody starts at T1. And Jordan from our Alberta PDGA rep,
Yeah.
he's sending this
Nice.
inflatable arch. So we're
Awesome.
going to have that
Oh,
over hole
Yeah.
one. So that's going to be even more exciting. So now it's going to be like a really tough Nando, So it's going to be exciting. Yeah. So that just made my day. I literally got off the phone before I hopped on with you guys too.
great.
So yeah, then we got the Ace Race 9-hole course. Everybody, gets a shot.
No.
And I don't know if you guys have played an Ace Race.
Not
Maybe
yet.
you haven't. Oh my God, it's I've always enjoyed it. That's why I almost ran it for like I don't know, close to 18 years, I guess, or 16 years. It's just so much fun, something to do. You play in a shortened course and try to get as many aces as you can, And I mean, we've had them all over the place, like all over the place, So it's always been a blast. And then we have a whole bunch of games for everyone. And after that, we have Jumble Putt, accuracy shots, rolling accuracy, because I like
Yeah.
rolling, so I figure everybody should try it too, So, and then we're also going to have a 6-hole mini
Right.
disc golf challenge. So
Okay.
everybody will get one of these mini drivers and see what kind of score everybody can get on a little
Nice.
mini basket course. So.
Oh, well, I think if Chad's up there, we're in trouble because we understand that
Yeah,
he
he's
knows
Yeah.
how
not
to.
allowed
No
to play.
pros.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a co-world champion. Yeah, so he would definitely win. But that's
Yeah.
okay.
And he's
He's
injured.
old now, so. Hi, Chad.
All of us are young, but Chad's gotten older,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and then for Saturday is much of the same thing. Play your second round, then you play the Part 2 Challenge 9-hole course twice, so it's for 18 holes as well. And then we have much of the same games: jumble putt, accuracy shots, rolling accuracy, and we're going to have an accuracy drive. So I'm
Oh.
going to paint a
Oh,
bullseye,
Oh.
and it's not going to be long
Right.
drive; it's just accuracy drive. So if
yeah.
somebody can land inside the bullseye,
Wow.
then you'll get an amazing prize. So.
Nice.
Yeah, and then of course, all the cool player packs that we're gonna have for all the AM players. The pros still get a shirt, but
Yeah.
of course, they get like a whole bunch of cash and $1,000 cash added. Plus, I'm pretty sure I got like $1,200 worth of prices for everybody added
It's a
in.
big
Holy
roll.
So
crow. Yeah.
yeah, man, it's pretty crazy, and not to mention the raffle. We got a whole bunch of amazing prizes for that too. Whole bunch of discs and the
Yeah.
Croconoli tournament
Yeah.
that I'm looking forward to. So, I won't be like actually competing, but in order for you to win, you'll have to either beat me or Greg,
Oh,
or maybe
okay.
even Chad. Chad was quite lippy about being able to beat me. So we'll see.
That's awesome. Well, with all of that, so that's for everybody who's coming up there to play in the event and be part of it. Now, and I'm just putting it out there so we get the answer whichever way it is. Are
Mhm.
spectators allowed to come out and watch for this event, do you think?
Of
Or is
course,
it,
of
yeah?
course, and even if you wanted to come out just for the doubles, you can just pay $5, and if you're a member, you don't have to pay anything. But if you're not, you can pay the $10 green fee,
Yep.
and come and join us in the fun. And if you wanted to just come and watch, that's cool too. You
Yeah.
know.
I think that would be, as you're saying already, where rolling starts on the first hole. You've got the archway. This is your 100th event. I think at least for your card, I don't know if it's Daryl or if me or somebody, but we should do the full on announcing the card. Next up on the box,
You know what?
Wally Ovalle.
I would love to. I mean, I would love to, and if I can get like some
We
sort
had
of
we had the speaker there
speaker
last at the
system, I
Hidden Gem
guess.
in for the raffle. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. You know what? Maybe I will ask her to see if. Well, that's
Yeah.
connected
That's
to
right.
the
Yeah.
whole building there, so
Oh,
I'm
gotcha.
not sure if it would work, but I would love to do that. Yeah, I would definitely. Like I said, the more of an experience I can give the players for this one,
We just need to
that would just
bring
make
one of
me
those
happy.
like loud
So.
hailers,
Yeah.
like the old school
Oh,
the megaphones. Yeah.
Yeah, the megaphones.
I'll see what I can find out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure Greg has got something. Yeah.
I was saying, you guys, have you not heard me at a tournament? You don't need a megaphone when you got
Right,
Jeremy around.
exactly. Yeah, you probably don't.
Yeah.
I just lose my voice at the end of the day,
Yeah,
I'll sound like Barry White by 6 p.m.
yeah, the perfect time.
Right?
Well, and Wally, you even so much so have your own logo for this event. So that is cool. It's kind of like a cartoon, like caricature. How did that come about?
Well, you know what? I've been doing, I like playing around with different things, and I did this logo for Rob Lychuk, and it came out pretty cool. I mean, I changed it like 5 times, before I was like, hey, this is the one,
Yeah.
and so I was like, hey, wait a minute, and then I made one for Adam West too, and it came out pretty cool too. And I'm like, hey, how come I haven't made one for myself, right? So then I started thinking, I'm an Aries, so I'm like a ram, perfect,
Yeah.
and I started adding my, letters to it and a basket around the neck of the ram, my PDGA number.
Oh, and then
And
yeah, that's the other one there.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
oh, for
That's a
that
different
logo
one
you were
there, but we
talking
do.
about.
No,
Sorry,
there is
yeah.
that one too. We can get to this one, but
Yeah,
I
okay.
know which one you were
Just-
talking about. So
No.
Yeah.
Which one are we talking about?
nope.
Nope.
There's a
Oh,
No,
different
your
one
it's
that
actual
it's
Wally's
my
logo.
talking
actual
Sorry,
logo.
I jumped the
Yeah.
gun.
Yeah. Wally's.
Yeah, it's the one that's on
Sorry.
my Facebook thing, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, so for that
Sorry.
one, that was Todd DuPont that did that for me.
Okay.
Yeah, from 4Mac. Yeah, he I just asked him, I was like, hey, because I didn't want to do something for me. Everything that I make, I think is kind of cheesy, right? So, I thought, hey, let's see what he can do. And then, my God, when he came back with that, I was like, oh my God, I'm in love with that. That is amazing. So, I got him to change a couple of little things, but yeah, so that logo for my 100th, that was like perfect. And I actually managed to find like the outfit. So probably tomorrow, as everybody checks in, I'm going to be wearing that
That's
exact
awesome.
same outfit that I'm wearing on the disc. So,
Oh, that
so
is
the
awesome.
whole bucket hat, the bright shirt, the red
Okay,
towel,
I'll
So
put it back up again because I
yeah,
took it
it's
away
going to be
quickly.
pretty awesome. So
Yeah, let's put that up there for sure. Look at that. So you're gonna have the same outfit and
the
everything.
exact
Can't
same
wait.
outfit. Yeah, it. Yeah,
That's gonna be good.
I wish I had round glasses, but because I would just make it.
That's awesome.
I'd just totally make it. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, like I said, it is so amazing. So I'm very thankful for Todd for doing that for me.
Well, and when we're talking about Todd, and then also the other logos in that we're seeing, so Todd is also part of the Wolfpack
Well,
disc
that's
golf
right.
team.
He's the one that did these logos,
Yeah.
like that one, and not that one, but
Well, and we're familiar with that. We see the jerseys around everywhere, but tell us a little bit more about what Wolfpack disc golf team is.
Well, you know what? Like we always kind of hang together when we go to tournaments. Whether it's in Hinton, Drayton Valley, at the Basca, River City, and it just kind of became the thing, and it wasn't really so much my thing. I kind of got invited, which was honor for me, But I mean, like I said, I do see him every tournament, right? So.
Yeah.
And like if we're seeing each other on every single tournament, it's like a wolf pack, right? We always come together no matter
Right.
what, right? And I think that's where that stemmed from. And like I said, I was very thankful to be invited to be part of it, and I wear the shirt proudly. So
Well, the
yeah.
Wolfpack totally supported everything this week. We put out those little shorts and, we kind of howled in it there and they were all over it. Everybody loved it. They were so excited you were going to be on the show. I'm sure they all said, it's about time. What have you guys been doing for the last 39 episodes?
Hey, you know what? I was actually happy that it was 39 because I'm a big lover of the 369 kind of
Okay.
numbers, right?
There you
So
go.
when I seen 39, I'm like, oh, perfect. 3
all
plus 9, 12. 1 plus 2 equals 3. Like,
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go.
it was just meant to
Yeah, we
be in
totally
my
planned
world,
that out.
So yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I'm sure you
Yeah,
did.
there you
Yeah.
go. It was meant to be. Yeah.
It was meant to be, like I said, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and even beyond the Wolfpack side of things, we had a number of people, well, one in specific we wanted to bring up who had mentioned and put a nice comment out there. And that was Jerry Ann Brownbridge. She had put a
Oh, yeah.
comment in there saying, when she went to her first tournament, you were one of the first people that she met, and you were so nice to her, and she didn't even know who you were, and you didn't know who she was, but you really were part of what made her feel welcome in the community and happy to join it. So it's amazing. Like, so if you weren't sure, I know you know, but if you weren't sure what kind of impression you're leaving on people, that's just another example of what you're doing. So
Yeah, well, I mean, I totally appreciate that, and it's funny. Jerry and I were talking about that in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and it was like 3 years ago now, and it was pretty amazing, you know. And like I said, I've always been an outgoing kind of person, you know, and I don't care who you are, you know. I'll want to get to know you, and let's hang and let's get to know each other, you know. And I think a perfect example was when me and Chad went to England for the
whiff diff,
for the championships, flying disc world championships.
yeah.
So I just went there, you know, to support, you know, and you know, trip to England, like, come on, right? Like, get me on there, right? So. But yeah, I mean, we got and checked into the hotel, and I mean, within 30 minutes, I was already hanging with some folks, and this lady from Ontario, like her husband was competing in the championship there, so you know, and they already had a beer in my hand, you know, and I was like, and I see Chad, and he's like, "What? Already?"
I remember when we had Chad on, he told us the story there that you went over there just to support him and you know, see how, and then within like half an hour, you were, you know, helping run the tournament over there as well.
Yeah. Like I said, I went there to volunteer, and literally, they threw me into it, and I was like, okay, perfect, you know, let's do this. And exactly, yeah. So, like I said, anywhere disc golf, right? If I can be part of something, I'm more than willing. You know, that's how much I love the game, the people, and everything about it. You know, so yeah,
for sure.
But
you know, Daryl, I do have to say something. And what that is when you come into disc golf, sometimes it could be a little lonely, and you make sure it's not lonely, because if you came in and nobody talked to you, nobody was approaching you, you'd almost feel like you were on an island all by yourself, even though you were among all these people.
You would
and
think
it kind of
so,
probably brings us into our next part, doesn't it,
He's
Daryl?
pretty good at this, Wally. You got it. Yeah, there you go.
Now it's time
I
for
like the
Desert
segues,
Island
yeah.
discs. Picture this. You've taken a relaxing cruise, however the ship goes down. You manage to swim to an island. And fortunately for you, there's an 18-hole disc golf course. Which 3 discs are you taking with you on the island?
There you go. Pretty self-explanatory. You got the on an island, 3 discs. You
100%.
Used to be a putter, mid-range,
on an island.
and driver.
Well, I mean,
whatever 3 favorite discs you've got with you.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would definitely have to be a sword. I fell in love with a sword last year when I went to the Canadian Nationals in Thunder Bay, and the disc just flies amazing for me, even though it's like 158 grams, you know, but I can throw it so far, it just blows my mind. So definitely a go-to driver for me. I recently fell in love with some Clash discs. For me, the vanilla, it's pretty amazing for a fairway driver. It's just an all-around great disc and super glidey. So. And definitely a Flex Buzz.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because I can putt with it, I can approach with it, I can do a lot of things with it. So,
putting with a buzz. Hey, Daryl, that's interesting. I don't know if I think I did a one disc round there, a Wally, where I had Hex, and I had to putt with that. It was okay, and I know the buzz and Hex are at least
similar.
In the same range, right?
Yes.
So to recap,
that's cool.
Flex Buzz,
no,
Clash Disc Vanilla, and West Side Sword. Yeah.
West Side.
So someone in the chat, Mark, is saying, what, no koi?
Nice.
Well, you know what? I mean, it's not my favorite, but it is a great approach to this. I do love it. Yeah.
That's it.
But I can only choose 3, so.
That's right. Yeah. And that was good, because I know a lot of people we've had it a few different ways, right, Daryl? We've had people who haven't been prepared at all, have no clue, but like you were good go-to. So when we come out this weekend, we'll see all 3 of those discs flying at some point.
You certainly will. Yeah. Every one of them. Yeah. The sword mostly, because I lost my vanilla in one of the ponds last Sunday.
I'm surprised you went with like newer discs.
Yeah,
I would have thought with your such a long career of playing disc golf, you'd have had an old beat up disc that you'd had in the bag?
Yeah, you know what? I used to, but they
Yeah.
just don't fly like the new stuff, and
Mm.
like I said, Buzz, I've been throwing
Yeah.
pretty much from the beginning of my
Right.
career. Like it's the Flex Buzz, I should say. I love it. Like I mean, I'm holding on to two that are brand new and just
Yeah.
sitting waiting until this one dies, But
Well, seeing as
I'm
we're
hoping
talking
they
about
don't.
discs
But
here, Jeremy, we had quite a few questions in the chat. So if you want to get onto one of those, and we have something
Okay.
new for the stream as well, Wally. So you're going to be the first one. So we have a question
oh,
here,
exciting!
and if you look at your screen, there you go. This is from Dylan. So Wally's known for having quite
look
the
at
disc
this.
collection. Apart from his CE Valkyries, does he have a favorite disc or two?
Yes. Well, I'm looking up right now, and I have in some shadow boxes, and I have a first run pre-release Wraith that is black with
Okay.
gold writing with the Innova star. I also
Okay.
have a very first run, very limited edition. I think they only did 50 of this disc, and it's a DX Valkyrie with the original champion disc stamp from Innova
Yeah.
before they were changed their name to Innova.
Okay, yeah.
And then I have the very first disc that Innova ever made, which is now called the Arrow, but back then it was called the Eagle.
Oh,
And
okay.
I have the very first mold that
Right.
they ran, which is in a blue color.
Nice. So that, yeah, okay. Hopefully that
Yeah.
answers your question, Dylan.
Well, and Daryl, you can keep going because you know what happened with me is I didn't have any of the chat. I thought nobody was watching with us, but now I've got it back, and I'm like,
yeah,
oh my
been
gosh, it's been blowing up all night.
So like you mentioned about Jerry M. Brownbridge there, we could go into the chat and echo everybody's comments as well. Everybody's just been saying what a nice guy you are, memorable guy that on the course and everything like that. So
Well,
we have another question from Dylan as well. Dylan was quite active in the chat today. Favorite or most memorable ace?
Good stuff. Oh gosh, it would have to be my first ace, I think, for sure, and it was at the old Rumble course, hole 7, and it was a skip ace, and it was my first ace ever, and and I was with Chad, I believe, and I mean that was the way to get the ace on that hole, and essentially it was where the basket of let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, I guess.
Okay.
Well, 4 is where the basket is now. That's where it
Okay.
used to be back then, but you shot from along the roadside. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like that was the shot to make. You had to skip it so you wouldn't land on the road. And my first ace ever, and I just skipped and
There you
boom,
go.
went into the chains, and that would just made my day. And I think it was like 2 years into my
It's like your first
disc
kiss.
golf
You always
career.
remember your
So
first.
Nice. And
100%, 100%. All the other ones they were cool, but
yeah.
I've gotten like 4 with my
Exactly.
koi, but they're all quiet. So
Now with that first one, as I always ask, is did you like for me, Daryl had his first one, and I
Exactly.
think he was shocked more than anything else. Because I always ask is did you run it down? Were you in shock? Were you just high-fiving everybody on the
I was
tee box?
high-fiving everybody.
Yeah.
I get pretty excited when something nice happens, So yeah, I was definitely high-fiving everybody, and I didn't run it down. I just left it there.
That's
But
awesome.
it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you'd hate for it to stop somebody else's ace from going in. Is the way I look at it. I'm just
Well,
doing everybody
100%. But I mean, we did have the older baskets back then, so they had a huge cone, so there was no way you were bouncing out. Yeah.
We had another question here, Brock. What's the weirdest thing that has happened at one of your events? We touched on the smoke for Drayton Valley having to relocate a tournament to a different course. Anything else that stands out that maybe has happened?
Honestly, in all the years here, let me just think and round down the history here. Honestly, no, I would have to say, I mean, besides like heavy rain, I would have to say the smoke and having to switch a tournament, that's been the weirdest thing for me that I had to do, so yeah.
That's okay. I still have some in front of me here too, so maybe we can go on to one more of those.
Okay, go for it.
All right. So if I look through here, we had the weirdest events, and then we had Sam put out one that said this might be an odd question, but what is something you put in a player pack that got more attention, either positive or negative, than you anticipated? Was there anything like that?
Hmm, that's a good question.
There you go. Let's leave that
That
up to Sam. That's
that is
Sam
that is
Western
a
jumping in.
good question. Honestly, I don't know
Or
if I've
any
done anything out of the ordinary,
or
I'm
anything that
trying to
you were
think.
really proud of where you were like, yeah, that was a good one.
Ah, gosh. Well, honestly, I would have to say my disc for this tournament.
Oh,
I think they
Ooh.
came out pretty incredible. So, as far as that, I hope people like them. And,
yeah.
it's obviously weird to see a cartoon picture of you, but, I think it's cool and it came out pretty amazing. So, I
Yeah.
love the design. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I really hope people like it. I mean,
And
yeah.
that's going to be a nice collector's item too, right? For your 100th tournament. So,
Right, exactly. So, I
yeah.
kind of wish I would have ordered more, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well,
You
now
know,
it's a limited edition, so all of us
100%.
who show up will have this piece of history.
Only 55 discs. That's it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. So,
I have to ask you
And
because it was brought to my attention. Why are we all playing blues on Saturday?
not all, just certain folks, because, got to make it exciting.
We didn't play
The
blues.
blues are actually not as hard as you think. They're actually easier on some of those tough wooded holes
Oh, really?
because it
Okay.
gives you a different line.
Right.
It gives you a different
oh,
line. Yeah, that you're
I
like,
didn't.
hey, wait a minute, I never seen this line all along.
Right. I didn't.
So now
I
you.
didn't practice blues when I was up there for Hidden Jam. I thought I'm never going to play those. I'm not going to be that good. And then
Ah,
Mark
okay.
mentioned to us,
Well,
"Yeah, we're playing blues on Saturday." it'll
yes,
be
yes.
different for sure.
Yeah, it's just I figure one round, and everybody plays the tougher tees, including the junior and the women. So,
Yeah.
they get to play from the whites and we play from the blues, and then back to the regular scheduled program. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I like
yeah,
it. I think that's a good way because when you're playing one course multiple times, I think it's nice to have a little change, whether it's baskets in a different position or in this case going to a different tee pad. And
right.
as Daryl and I thought too, it's probably a good equalizer as well because there is going to be a lot of other people who are maybe not as familiar with it or have trouble adjusting. So it might give
100%.
give everybody an equal playing field. So
Exactly. Just a little gap, opening for the divisions, but hey,
Yeah.
there's always the next round to make up for it. So
that's right.
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I think we kind of hit all the questions, Wally, but one of the things we want to do is we've covered a whole bunch of things, but if there's anything we missed or anything you want to shout out or let people know before we let you go, this is your time to do it.
Okay. Well, I mean, I just want to take the time to thank everybody that has supported my tournaments throughout the last 21 years. Everybody that has helped me, get the course together, get signs together, help me order shirts, help me order prizes, help me get prizes. I mean, it's just so many people that have, always stepped up and lent a helping hand so that that I can bring an awesome event for people, and yeah, I think out of all the 100 tournaments, I don't think I even ever had one that people were sad and disappointed about, and that was always the goal, right? To make sure that people have fun, and if you didn't, well, I don't know where you were playing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like I said, just thank everybody for the past 21 years and thank all the amazing friends that have been there through the tough times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I don't know if we've actually addressed it, and you kind of keep mentioning it, but you kind of skirting around it. We're obviously calling this your 100. Is there going to be a 101 or is that it?
Probably not, to be quite honest. It just has become a lot of work, and
Right.
I want to, it's been a while since I truly got to spend a whole year and just enjoying going to tournaments, like it was back in 2002 when I went to my first two tournaments. So it was just everything was new and exciting,
Right.
So, and I mean, I'm never going to stop helping out, and showing up 4 hours early for my round. And, it's like, hey, you need a hand with anything? Like that's just my nature, and I'll never stop doing that. But yeah, I mean, as far as running tournaments, unless something major was to happen, but yeah, I just want to enjoy disc golf for a few years, and just see where, concentrate on my game maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, work on
because my
that
rating
putting.
keeps on dropping. Yeah, exactly. Work on that putting. I'm pretty sure that's why my rating has taken like a 20-point plunge. But
Well, Wally, on behalf, if we can, Daryl, on behalf of all of the people in the disc golf community, whether it be in Edmonton, whether it be in Alberta, or just in Canada in general, thank you for all of the tournaments you've organized. We've only known you for a short time, but you've already left an impact on us, and we appreciate it. And there was no way we were missing the event this weekend, and we're so excited to be part of it.
I'm so glad you guys can be part of it. Yeah.
But thank you so much for all that you've done for disc golf in Edmonton and across Canada.
I appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Perfect.
You guys have a great night, and I thank you once again.
You're very welcome.
You're welcome.
Take care.
And we'll see you soon.
You betcha. I will see you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Cheers.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Daryl, how do we get these amazing guests? How do we do it?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I was going to say it's something to do with the Edmonton community, the Edmonton Disc Golf Association. Like, it's not just that. It's just that the disc golf community in general just has amazing people, and we're just lucky enough to get them on our podcast.
Yeah. And people, it's funny, people who don't know about disc golf, they don't understand it as much, right? They say, what are you doing? You're throwing Frisbees? What do you do?
Yeah.
Right. But once you get involved in it and you start meeting people like Wally, Carrie, all of these people who are Tim Plamont and Kristen, we could go on forever and ever with the number of people. They put so much into it. And as Wally said, like, keep in mind, guys, he didn't make a penny off of any of his tournaments. I don't think. I wouldn't think on anything like that. Right. He's organized these tournaments because he wants to grow disc golf.
Yeah.
You don't get paid to be the president of the Edmonton Disc Golf Association for 14 years or however long he did it.
Yeah.
Like, this is all a labor of love because you care about this game and this sport.
Yeah.
And thank you, Wally.
It's funny because when I ever think about disc golf, I always think about it as a relatively new sport. Like, it's growing, right? Like you said, the COVID boom, we're getting to see those bigger numbers. But when you think about the fact that it's been around since like the 80s or 70s, that it's been around for a long time, but it is still relatively small. So, part of the reason why these people want to grow the community and want to grow disc golf is because it is still so small. Like, you want to have a hand in making it mainstream, like getting it to that next level, right?
Yeah. I agree. Well, that was something cool. And the other thing that I kind of hit me after we were having that whole conversation was the Night Owl at Aspen Meadows was pretty much the precursor to what Falcon's Flight is today. So Wally had a part to play with Rudy, the main driver, but the two of them to make what this event is that sells out immediately in Alberta, the biggest event, and even Western Canada, because we know people are coming in from BC, Saskatchewan to go to that event.
Yeah.
And that's just to show what the impact of just hosting a tournament 1 year can do as it grows year after year and snowballs into what Falcons is now.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. And we're, like you said, we're excited to go down there and be a part of that, at least if it's for 1 year, 2 years, and many years to come, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we can say it enough times. Thank you, Wally. We can't wait to catch up with you this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad we got to know him a little bit better now as well. I mean, obviously he's such a personable guy. If you want to speak to him, you're always going to go up to him on the course and he'll say hi and things like that. But actually getting to sit down and chat with him and find out everything that we found out about him, it's such a great guy.
For sure. And I'm going to say it, and I say it always at this time, Daryl. If you like this content and you like what we're doing, do us a favor. Please subscribe. Tell your friends and family to subscribe. Like, follow, comment, do all of those things, we'd appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Couldn't have
And
said
it's
it
time to
better
start-
myself, Jeremy.
I would say if we actually still had people listening at this time, it's time to start thinking for a secret word, but we're going to come up with our own secret word, and then we'll see whoever joined back in to watch the rest of the episode.
Yeah. We had some technical issues, which may or may not be evident when you're listening back or watching this back.
Yeah, but we lost our viewers on the live, but we're glad that you're listening to us now.
Yeah.
So why don't we jump into the Oil Sands Open really quick? I want to give that a little bit of attention. And that took place over the past weekend. That's an event that's up in Fort McMurray.
Yep.
And it's at the Stone Creek course, I think is what they call it. It used to be the RMWB course.
Okay.
But it's an up and down 18-hole course. You play 9 holes, you go down for 4, play 1 across, go back up for 4, and then you do it all over again.
Okay.
So it can be, if you're not, haven't been doing your cardio,
Right.
it could be a little difficult for you, but it's a nice treat course that they play. They also play out on a golf course there. Last year, there was a huge turnout. I went out to it. Mark was up there. Brock was up there. A lot of the people we know went up from Edmonton. This year, it doesn't look like everybody could make it.
Right.
So there was about 18 players who went out to play those courses. And I thought maybe we just go through quickly. There was 4 divisions.
Yep.
We had Josh Smith from Edmonton winning the MPO.
Right.
We had Todd DuPont, who we just talked about. He ended up winning MA40, and he's from Fort Mac. Then Michael Knight from Fort Mac won MA2. And then David Bell of Spruce Grove won MA3. So congrats to all of those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hopefully the event can kind of, maybe it is one of those every other year events. Maybe it's more of a local event one year.
Right.
And then Edmonton and everybody travels up the next year and goes back and forth. But if you haven't been to that tournament or played those courses, you should find a way to get up there and play them, because they're amazing. That's, I think when we talked about it before, the golf course that you play on, you actually get to ride in golf carts for that round.
How often can you get to, how often do you get to say that?
Yeah, you get to we'd put our Zuka in the back where you'd put your golf clubs and you strap it in, and then the only thing is in ball golf, you hit a little further than we throw. So the drives seem sometimes comical when you, especially if you turf one right in the ground in front of you.
It's okay. I'll walk.
Yeah. Well, we reached out to Jordan Alway as well, because the Oil Sands Open is part of the Cold Garden Cup tournament.
Yeah.
And we want to check with him for an update. And the big thing he wanted us to let everybody know is that, you can go and you can see the update of where everybody is in the standings. But the big thing that's going to be happening is that he has put together a Cold Garden Cup championship.
Okay, cool.
And registration is going to start to open soon. There's going to be some priority registration for winners who have won in their divisions in previous tournaments. And then there'll be some open registration. But the big thing about the event, because like this is a points one where there's prizes being awarded or cash being awarded, that type of thing. But the championships are also awarding points, and the points are going to be 3 times the amount of what any of the other tournaments are.
Right. So if you're just behind in your division, or if you're looking for a bit of a point boost, this could be the tournament for you.
Yeah. And I believe it was, now remember when we talked to him, I think this one, it called like Project 95 or Project something. It was a course that he really liked. I believe that was where he wanted to hold it.
Right.
I don't know if that's where it's going to be.
Okay.
So once we get more information next episode or something, we can talk about it. But yeah, that's what I know about that.
Nice.
And then after this episode, we're recording something right away.
We are.
We touched on tell everybody about.
Yeah, we touched on it a little bit earlier in the episode. But Fantasy League is back. As we said, we're covering the 10 Canadian A tiers. It's been a while. We haven't had any recently to do, but looks like we're getting into a kind of a busy stretch here. We're going to be covering the Eastern Canadian Amateur Championships. They're coming up this weekend. We have a special guest coming on, so look forward to that episode coming out soon. We'll be putting a post out on social media. If you followed it before, if you follow us on Instagram at @chainout_podcast. We put out our picks. I'll put out my picks. Jeremy put out his. With a special guest, we'll put out their picks for team special guest. Get to vote on the picks, see whose team you think is going to take down the win, most points over the tournament, and then in next week's episode, we'll give you an update on how that went.
And the two things we ask people to do is that there's always a gift card because it's sponsored by BR.
Correct.
Or there's almost always. If we play really bad, there might not be a gift card. But if we do well, which we usually do good
Someone
enough,
does.
there's a gift card to give away.
Yeah.
And what we suggest everybody to do and ask them to do is to vote if you can vote. If you don't see a vote button, just put a comment either on YouTube or on Instagram with the team that you think has the best chance of winning.
On the pinned
and
post.
That's going to get you in.
Yeah.
Your team doesn't have to win for you to win. You just have to vote, and
Correct.
then we'll do a draw from there.
Yeah.
And can I say one other thing that I suggest for our listeners to do?
You can.
Is don't worry about the people we picked. Pick your own team and maybe put that in the comments and do it well before the tournament's over, please. And then we'll see if you can beat us. And if you do, we'll give you a shout out.
Good.
I think I would give him a shout out.
Absolutely. Yeah. As long as it doesn't come in at 7:00 on a Sunday night.
Yeah, exactly. When the tournament's
over. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got that. So stay tuned for it. And then the last thing we like to do is give you a DGPT tour update. What are the Canadian pros doing?
Yeah.
Why don't you start, Daryl?
I will. As we mentioned him before, Thomas Gilbert. He was at Idlewild. He finished 78th, tied with Jacob Courtois, also known as Cupcake, if you've ever seen him. He'll be playing Worlds is his next tournament. He's also doing a mixed doubles with Chantal Bedinsky, I think there. A long drive, a putting, and a skill shot competition there.
Yeah, that's right. That's interesting. So that mixed doubles, everybody's partnered up, and you should check out some of those partnerships. But it makes sense that we've got a Team Canada partnership. I'm excited to see how they do.
That's cool.
With Thomas's drives and Chantel's putts, I think they're going to rock it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now Max Rigitnik, did I do better?
You did it right. You got it right.
Yeah. He placed third at the Swedish Championships, winning himself $578. And we should also mention our new friend Fritja Fargagrin. He placed ninth. Fargagrin. He placed ninth at the tournament. So good for him as well.
Yeah.
And Max is heading back to North America, and he's going to be at Worlds.
Nice. Awesome. Previous guest on the show. Not guest of the show. What's the friend of the show? Sophia Donica. She has no tournaments on the schedule, but the next one up for her will be Nationals. That's a few weeks away.
I still think she's going to squeeze something in, but maybe not. Maybe she's just enjoying some time off.
Rest, yeah.
Yeah. And then Chantal Bedinsky, obviously we just talked about Thomas and her going to be partners. So she's going to be heading up to Worlds, but she did recently play Idlewild and placed 12th, which tied her with big money Missy Gannon.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good company to be tied with.
It is. If you follow Chantel, Miss Frisbees on Instagram, I was quite surprised. And it just goes to show you the level of mentality, mindset between a professional and us amateurs, because I would think 12th in an event,
amazing.
In a pro event. Yeah, that's amazing. Tying with Missy Gannon, amazing. But she was kind of a bit hard on herself, saying that she wanted to do better. And I think she did better last year. And she felt like she could play better. So, yeah, it's awesome to hear that she's got that mindset that she wants to do better. So follow Miss Frisbees and give her some love whenever she's feeling down, because she does tend to put out her feelings on Instagram on how she thinks her rounds went.
Yeah. And congrats, Chantel. We're proud of you. And putting $885 in your pocket, that's never hurts.
That's about 4,000 Canadian.
Yeah, I think so. Carry the 7, 3 and 9, 1 and 2. Yeah, we got it. So yeah, that kind of wraps up what's going on with the pros on the tour.
Yeah.
And then we didn't have any listener questions, so we can go over that. But why don't you and I come up with a secret word at this point, Daryl? What do you have any ideas from today?
Oh, let me think. I mean, it's a fairly standard word. It's nothing that stands out, but planning. Planning.
Planning would be good. And maybe, do you want to pick maybe one of the discs that from his Desert Island discs? That could be it. And see if we could mix those two words in a comment.
I mean, what did we have?
So we had sword,
buzz, flex buzz, and what was the...
Oh, see, this is how well are we as listeners? Good thing he didn't say listening was part of being a good TD, although I'm sure it is as well.
There's a lot. I've got a lot of buttons to be pushing here. That's my job as monkey boy. Sword. Oh, it was
vanilla,
the vanilla,
wasn't it? Yeah.
The flash disc vanilla.
I'm thinking, can we do planning vanilla?
Oh,
What?
I've just seen somebody in the chat, Sam, planning for Eagles, because he said that disc, one of his favorite discs, when it was called the Eagle.
Yes. Okay. Perfect.
It's a disc.
Planning for Eagles. So find a way to put that into a sentence. Be creative. We'd love it. It lets us know that you got to this point in the episode, and we appreciate you for it.
Yeah. Well,
and now, Daryl, it's another episode in the books.
It is. You've played Athabasca before. You played it last year. I played it earlier this year. There's a couple of ace holes. I know when I was up there for Hidden Gem, they had a quad bike actually as a prize for one of the holes that had never been aced.
Oh, I think I know what hole that one is.
But it did actually get aced.
And what was it? Todd DuPont?
Todd DuPont aced it, but it was in the practice round and not actually in the tournament, so he didn't win the quad.
Oh no!
But what would happen if me and you threw a disc on that hole?
Well, I've already been thinking, and I'm going to tell you more about this later off the air, but I've actually planned out every disc for every hole for the white tee pads.
I'm sure you have.
So when we get to the hole 13, which is this hole, I'm throwing an MD3.
Okay.
What are you throwing?
Probably into first available.
Barring that, what would you be throwing?
I think I'm probably going to be throwing my Sophia Donica J.
Yeah. Nice. Well, the fact that we've got all of these good vibes going on this weekend, we got Wally, we've got like people, like the MA40 group that we're playing in is the largest group in this tournament.
Yeah.
There's going to be so much fun, so much excitement, so much love for everything Wally has done for the community. I think almost everybody who throws on hole 13 is going to have a nice disc going straight out with a bit of hyzer. It's got to have hyzer on that hole. Yeah, it's going to have hyzer as it goes down. Trees are going to almost move out of the way for our discs.
Yeah.
And it's going to go towards that basket. It's got to drop.
Yeah.
So it's going to probably come in at about a 45. And when it comes in at a 45 and hits those chains, there's one thing it can't do. It could never do.
It would never.
Chain out. Thanks, guys. We love that you've joined us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.